Hello. Sponsored by XD. Welcome to Sands of Salzaar. This game was just released from early access. Just imagine this game as a combination of Kenshi and Mountain Blade. Can you turn one man into an army? And you have a recipe for something absolutely difficult to pronounce. So far, no one knows how to say it. Salzaar. It's an open-world action strategy fantasy RPG set in an exotic open-world desert. Summon demons, ambush camels, tame a bear, ambush camels with a tamed bear, and in the words of Eminem, cut other people open like cantaloupes. We're gonna see if we can have some fun with this one today. Life, after all, life is usually psychological torture. I tried to play this game as a wizard previously, aiding local ruffians in appropriating goods from caravan traders in the desert, but accidentally fought the ruffians instead. I can still hear the cries of the camels, accidentally donned as my allies after a horrible series of dishonorable betrayals. Instead, today we're kicking off a brand new playthrough. I'm donning the scuffed Nigel Thornberry run. We'll start a new game. Now, I was told not to do this, but I'm going to play on Epic. Normally, you can keep reviving all the time, but in Epic, you get to be reincarnated only 3 times. Now, there are 9 classes to choose from. My favorites being the Berserker, who just runs around with a bunch of bears, the Shaman, who can literally turn into a wolf, or the Knight Errant, who's being hunted by everyone. Now, there are lines and characters that you unlock with successive playthroughs, but I think we'll start off as the Spiritmancer. Control magic, summon wolves instead of turning into one, and most importantly, we'll start off with another companion. We can change our sprite if we want, or my favorite part, pretend that it's The Sims, or just press the randomize button a lot of times. And stop. My favorite is this guy, rocking the dad bod, with a countenance that says, "Living my best life. I'm just built different," and will foretell our major ambition by his name, Robin Banks. Now we undergo the process of legacy selection. Basically, how Chad can you make your character before you even start? Each one has a different ability that can be used in combat. So I think we'll be able to summon fire elementals, and also wolves, because why not? Or a deceptive totem, so many choices. Or even just appropriate one of several women into your cadre. Unfortunately, since we don't have enough money to get another complete skill, I'm just gonna get an arcane potion, but that'll raise our magic attack to start. We spawn in as Robin Banks, accompanied only by my sister-in-law, lively, mischievous sister-in-law. And so began the quest of Robin Banks and Zainab. Now we have 1 skill point to use toward anything we want. We could either use our spirit magic tree or our legacy tree. I think I'm gonna go with Psychic Bullet, and then we just drag that onto our skill tree. Robin Banks and Zainab. We'll just fight the tutorial enemy, and pyong. Don't forget to turn on the quick cast settings. And yeet. Backstory is that the world is inhabited by these bad people called the Ifrit, but capitalism destroyed their world, so humans are really the bad guys after all, like every story. Today we're going to level up Robin Banks to be one of the most powerful dad bods. So the main quest wants us to reach level 3. I have a few things I need to do before we get started though. So I don't want to fight the Desert Brotherhood yet, we'll just go straight for the beasts. And our first battle against a giant pack of wolves. And Wu-Tang, the wolves had stolen $12. In these types of games, you shouldn't inquire about the various factions and their agendas, for they're far too various and manifold for me to possibly explain to your smooth brain in one video. Simply understand that red dots are bad people. Simple as that. Red is a bad color, and it has always been bad since the beginning. But before we can get to that, we need to level up our own self. So I'm just going to quickly go through a few fights, get myself up to level 3. Summon Fire Elemental. So remaining at a safe distance, we call upon the Fire Nation to attack. We obtain purple potions, and we'll sell these on the black market. We'll add all of that into our inventory and pay for some good old-fashioned cabbage. You see, creating an army doesn't just mean hiring men, but literally calling upon your spirit animal, or animals in this case, for there are many. Wu-Tang! Wu-Tang! We swallow up our enemies with the underworld. So as you can tell, this is going to be a major operation. If we want to raise up an army, not only must we actively summon familiars in battle, but also negotiate this passive ability tree, which is totally not a way to just break the game. We could take less damage, raise our squad limit, but I think we're just going to go about the route that gives us free money in a few weeks. if we steer the course on this route. And we're just going to avoid doing the main quest. As it turns out, we're doing fine right now looting, and reach level 4. I think that this whole summoning familiar things is working out a little too well. And now we can summon 3 familiars. So we embark on a montage of level ups. Certainly, the most efficient way to make progress in any game. So it is to Robin Banks. His cool, chill, and relaxed vibe and flow mean it's completely fine to put off the main quest, as long as that means summoning more demons. This game has a story, but it's cooler to learn this shadow clone jutsu and watch other spirit animals fight my enemies for me. That is, until we accidentally enter a conflict between 2 factions known as the Nazir, the most powerful of tribes, and the Akal, who are also the most powerful tribe, except for the Nazir. Now when I read this, I am confusion. I tried joining the Nazir in battle, thinking they were the strongest. Unfortunately, they aren't always the strongest. The Nazir are much weaker than the Akal, who then sent 3 more bands of raiders to overcompensate for their notorious weakness. We narrowly avoid death and escape with our lives, only to embark, quite ironically, back on the main quest. Where were we now? Now that we've leveled up, we can fulfill our promise to meet a very suspicious man named Malik, not this Malik, who does not like people. Malik knows a lot. The world has been narrowly spared after a war with giant ancient people, many of whom are still at large. That's not a turn of phrase. This guy is twice the height of a normal man. Fortunately, large people are objectively clumsy and suffer from a reverse wage gap. This one had only $8 on him. Where were we now? Main quest, schmain quest. The purpose of our lives is to get stronger. Therefore, we cross the ice and the desert. Remember all the skills we had before? Well, now we recruit troops from the Akal, who are objectively the best. Fight more red dots. It's at this point that I decide, screw the main quest. The only real freedom is economic, and you'll be happiest if you take the road less traveled by selling everything you own, buying a horse, and riding into the sunset. Unfortunately, this leads us back to the main quest, where we meet a young woman who's actually an old woman, allegedly has a taste for eating souls, and also shoots fireballs out of the sky. Amazingly, I am able to run away from all of the lightning bolts while wearing a dress, the ultimate flex, which happens to be the exact moment that I decide, reject the allure of woman, return to dad bod. So as quickly as possible, run away from the woman, reject the main quest, and accept errands only from this mustachioed man. My friends, everything heretofore in the video has just been child's play. The real purpose of this game is to build up an army. Now that Robin is able to summon an army literally with his mind, the next ingredient is acquiring capital, and there's no business more lucrative in the desert than fastidiously guarding a camel. This, combined with the bachelor's degree we have been earning in economics, allows us to support more foot soldiers. Unfortunately, once they join the company, I don't have any money. Thus, we embark on a series of level ups. Like my life, yours will probably take a lot of twists and turns in the sands of Salzaar. But all the while, it feels great to amass a large army of unwilling, shirtless men to enlist in your cause, slowly snowballing and growing in Mongolian terror. Perhaps the most bizarre NPC you will meet is this large stone golem that hugs your thigh and says that it's afraid of the monsters. After fighting you out of fear, I let it join my faction. Fortunately, it was actually 2 stone golems. If you're anything like me, by the time all things are said and done, you'll have amassed an angry horde of Mongols. You'll be ready to combat any foe. So led by a team of 2 iron golems and a maddened pack of horsemen with machetes, the basic outline of an army begins to appear. Golems absorbing the damage, dad bod dealing the damage, cavalry rushing in and surrounding the enemy's hero. What started out as merely a ragtag militia led by a single man has generally scaled up. We can't take out a town yet, but a small camp stands no match for us. One by one, bandit camp by bandit camp, they fall, and the squad grows. Though once you start picking units, you get stuck to them. We've done nothing but upgrade Akal riders, and I've spent all my skill points on summons and cooldown. It's nice to be able to go on autopilot and simply watch the battle take place. Look at our results. There's practically no wounds in our entire company. The golems do a marvelous job absorbing the damage. Really, the money just can't come in fast enough. The temptation is greatest at all times to wage a large pitched battle, but the company isn't large or strong enough to siege a city. We don't have ballistas yet. So we continue the fever dream that is the story, and then it's on to my favorite activity, getting into various skirmishes with local militia, which are just these massive pitched battles. Farmers versus caravans, Naruto running after whoever's on the road. Ultimately, an opportunity to do what I've wanted to do ever since I saw my first city raid. Ally with all the outlying factions in a massive battle against the strongest faction that everyone hates simply because they're the strongest faction. At this point, it becomes evident. There are more red dots than I can handle. 3 or 4 measly spawns won't make a major difference in this large battle, and it is instantly evident that I am playing Avatar: The Last Airbender. I could have been the Fire Lord, but I opted to be the Puppet Master instead. Dear God, I live for this. What the hell is going on? Who is winning? Who is losing? Oh, Jesus Christ, what is that? What is that? At this point, it has become clear to me. My entire squad is dead, and I am now alone. On the bright side, their lives were not in vain. I now have economic freedom, and I fabricate money out of thin air. I'm exaggerating, a few of them did survive, and just as I desired, I now have the enmity of the main faction in the game. But what is the value of bringing horsemen into battle when your allies are riding giant scorpions into war? It's simply emasculating to be outdone by giant pink scorpions, watching enemies do literally earthbending in front of me. My disappointment in myself for not picking that skill tree is immeasurable, and my day is ruined. Therefore, my melancholy is expiated by the murder of several camels, happened upon randomly in the desert. At this point, I decide it's time to start over, because honestly, my coolest power is that I can summon a wolf. There are way better powers in this game. My life is simply not worth living anymore. If you want to check out Sands of Salzaar, check my link below. You can get it for less than the price of a cantaloupe. A major thanks to XD and Han Squirrel Studio for sponsoring this video. If you enjoy the Mountain Blade formula, but you felt like you were missing out on summoning an ice dragon, I recommend checking this out. And as always, a major thanks to my generous patrons. I'm Ambiguous Amphibian. Until we meet again.